translate. He doesn't translate to a 6 pick, Rex.
Well, I think sometimes, 6 pick or whatever, you got to get a quarterback. And I think, look, Mark Sanchez, they said the same thing about, when we moved up to 6 to get Mark Sanchez. Well, guess what? There was nothing else out there. We had to have a quarterback immediately to play. That's why we moved up to get Sanchez. And say what you want, but he did win 4 road playoff games. I do the same thing over
Rex,
again.
He had success at Florida State. At
USC.
I'm sorry.
But when I look at this, the Daniel Jones, I think is a better prospect than we're giving him credit for.
Okay.
And you know what? And we can look at it. Every one of these guys, we can make a good, bad, and ugly cut-ups of every one of these quarterbacks, and quite honestly, every player out there.
Yeah.
But they're clearly betting on the upside. The fact that he's behind Eli Manning, and I think is going to really help this young man. And hopefully, when it comes in, the plan would be obviously when Eli, rides off into the sunset, then this guy takes over. So we'll see if it works. Unfortunately, we're not going to know for about 5 years.
We'll see when that could wind up being that long. I want to bring Louis Riddick into the conversation. This fabulous work last night, Louis. I watched every second and loved it on the main desk at ESPN. For those who did not see your reaction, what was yours to Daniel Jones going 6 to the Giants?
Well, I mean, I was shocked. I didn't think they were going to go the position overall. In the first place, I thought a defensive line pass rusher was going to be something that they looked at 6 and tried to address it at 17 based on how I thought teams would value the quarterbacks overall after Kyler Murray was picked. And, you had heard enough rumors. I had talked to enough people to say maybe the quarterbacks were going to go off somewhere between 13 to 15, 13 to 17. I didn't think Daniel Jones would go that high. So, look, I was a little bit shocked just in terms of the price that they paid for him. I understand what his positives are. I understand, his mental processing power is something that people get enamored with. I understand that he is a guy who actually is someone who can pick up first downs with his legs and is a better athlete than people give him credit for. I also understand that, look, I watched the tape. I saw wide receivers drop balls for him. I saw wide receivers let him down. I also saw him let his team down. I saw him make bad decisions. I saw him be late on reads. I saw him leave deep balls short or overthrow them, clean pocket. Guys breaking 2-3 yards behind the deepest player on the field on the defense, which is something you don't see wide receivers do very often, and him just flat out miss them. So look, it's Rex just made a great point. You can absolutely just tear a guy apart if you put together all of his bad plays, and you can make a guy look like Aaron Rodgers if you put together all of his good plays. Quarterback evaluation is highly subjective. That's clear. Listen to how Dave talked about him. Subjectively speaking, personally speaking, he loved the guy. And I've heard GMs and scouts talk that way about all kinds of players. Now the most important part is this. Him and Pat Shurmur, they better have a plan for him when, in fact, Eli does get done playing, whenever he gets done playing, if he ever gets done playing, based on the way they sounded last night.
All right, Louis, stay with me because I know there's another quarterback that you and I both like the best, and we're going to get that conversation in a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, Laura, to you.
Yeah, Lewis is bringing up the point, Dan Orlovsky, about looking at the tape. I think the one thing about Daniel Jones that a lot of us see is when you look at a comp against the most maybe NFL-ready defense, it was his play against Clemson, and that didn't go very well.
Yeah, when you watch that Clemson game, when I watched the Clemson game and took notes, I said there was not a single throw made in that game that was impressive. There was not a moment where you go, wow, that was special. That was something unique against a very talented defense. And so that's the thing that stands out. There's no major flaw in the game. There's no like, wow, this guy's really has some major red flags. But there's nothing that pops. There's nothing that wows you. There's nothing that goes, oh my goodness, that guy just made a throw against NFL competition. Then you watch the Wake game, and I understand we can find good and bad, but Wake was one of the bottom 10 or 12 defenses in college football last year. He completed like 40% of his passes against a bad defense. So again, you have to ask yourself, is this guy a good player or a franchise-changing great player? And I think it's more of the former.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about Kyler Murray maybe making history as being something different we haven't seen in the NFL. Maybe Daniel Jones being just good in college and becoming great in the NFL, if he does, could be history-making. How about the other quarterback that was taken after that? And that was Dwayne Haskins. Didn't come until pick number 15. The Redskins take the Ohio State quarterback. Many thought they would have to trade up. They were able to get him with a regularly scheduled pick. Here's Haskins' response with Jin Latta having to wait until 15th overall to get drafted.
I know you waited longer than you would have liked, but what does this moment feel like compared to your expectations?
To be honest, I'm more motivated now than ever. There's a bigger chip on my shoulder. The league done messed up, and I'm just blessed by God, blessed by my family. I'm right down the street, so we're going to do it right this time, so it's crazy.
When you see that, all you think about is the fact that the Redskins and the Giants are in the same division. I'm not sure if Dwayne Haskins needed any more motivation, but he's definitely got it. I am interested, though, in your take on his fit with the Redskins offense, specifically in that coaching staff. What do you think?
All right, so the initial fit when thinking that Jay Gruden is their play caller and offense coordinator is not good, because Jay Gruden really was his best when he was doing the Mike Shanahan, Sean McVay play-action movement system. That's not Dwayne Haskins' greatest strength. Now, their offensive coordinator is Kevin O'Connell, who's a guy that in 2016 was with Chip Kelly. Do you know who else was with Chip Kelly? Is Ryan Day, who's the head coach of Ohio State. And so Jay Gruden, if he lets Kevin O'Connell be their play caller and play designer and allow Dwayne Haskins to own the line of scrimmage, operate from the pocket, then it's a very good fit. But it needs to be O'Connell, not Jay Gruden.
As you can tell, we are right in the middle of Music City here in Nashville on Broadway. Dan's ready to get grooving. Greeny, more on Dwayne Haskins with you guys.
Yes, the stage upon which I sit is reverberating, so I'm going to throw it to you, Louis Riddick, for your thoughts. You and I both were absolutely on board with Dwayne Haskins. What did you make of the way his night fell and the fit in Washington?
Yeah, for Dwayne in particular, obviously you could see, like, it doesn't take, you don't have to have a degree in psychology to figure out that he was ticked off. He didn't think he should have lasted that long. And I think in particular, the guy who went ahead of him, and that being Daniel Jones, to the team that maybe he wanted to play for as a child, I think that ticked him off. And so I think you're getting a highly motivated player. That being said, I'll tell you this. I talk a lot about sponsorship, meaning does ownership in the top levels of organizations, how much do they like you? How much do they want you? How much are they invested in you? I can tell you this. The owner of the Washington Redskins will make it very well known to the rest of the people in the organization how he feels about certain players. And he wanted this kid. He wanted Dwayne Haskins to be his quarterback down there. Now, I know he's not going to be the one who's coaching him. He's not going to be the one who's calling plays. He's not going to be the one who's correcting him on the field. He's not going to be the one who's rehabbing him when he has anything wrong with him. He's not going to be the one who's counseling him off the field. But I'll tell you this, everyone in that organization will be behind making sure that Dwayne turns out to be the very, very best he can be. The quarterback room in particular, I think, is set up for success. He's going to have Alex Smith around there. Although Alex Smith may never play football again, and I don't know that for sure, but I would just say this. Alex Smith is going to be around there. Case Keenum is going to be the guy who's going to be the bridge quarterback for him. You can't set the table for him in that way any better than that, okay? You cannot. Now, they need to do some work as far as making sure he has weapons on the perimeter to help him get the job done, to make sure that the running game continues to be developed. The offensive line, hopefully these guys stay healthy, because I'll tell you, 1 through 5, the Redskins' offensive line's as good as anyone's in the NFL when they're all healthy and ready to go. They've just been decimated by injuries in past years. So he's got a lot of things going for him down there. And on top of it, he's got Landon Collins on that football team, who was also sent down the road by the New York Giants. That game, the Giants versus the Redskins, I hope Daniel Jones plays sooner rather than later, and I hope Dwayne Haskins plays sooner rather than later, because that's going to be must-see TV.
Absolutely. That's always been a great rivalry. Maybe it gets a little bit better still. All right, Louis, stay there. I have another big story coming out of last night, obviously. Right at the very beginning of the night, Kyler Murray, no surprise, going #1 overall to Arizona. So the Heisman Trophy winner goes to the desert. Thus far, the Cardinals have not found a deal for Josh Rosen, whom they took in the first round a year ago. Here was Adam Schefter in our first hour with more on Rosen.
The only 3 teams that the Cardinals spoke to about a potential Josh Rosen deal during the offseason were the Giants, Chargers, and the Miami Dolphins. Well, the New York Giants went out and drafted Daniel Jones last night. The Chargers haven't really had much interest and signed Tyrod Taylor. And now that leaves the Dolphins, who still have quarterback questions, as the lone possibility. The two sides have spoken some. The talks are going along right now. They're not accelerating especially fast, but you would think that there would be something of a deadline today.
All right, and as we continue, again, that was Adam Schefter in our first hour. We're just giving you a sense. See where it says rock bottom? That's where we're sitting. And you see the stage? It's very close to us, and they have extraordinarily loud music going from there. So our apologies if that is interfering with your ability to hear us, but we'll do the best we can to continue here on our set. I have Rex Ryan and Marcus Spears. So, Rex, we were discussing a moment ago whether or not it is feasible to function with both Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray on the same team. As a head coach, can you make that work?
Well, I mean, you'd have to make it work, but I don't anticipate that work. And
they have to trade him.
So I think they're going to trade him, but we've seen this before. The Dallas Cowboys, you know, we put up a stat that no team has had back-to-back first-round picks since 1970 at that position. That's not true. Troy Aikman went with the first overall pick, and then they followed that up with Steve Walsh. Maybe there was 2 years in between. That happened for 1 year. Then they moved on from Walsh. They traded Walsh for a number of picks. So I think you're going to move out. Look, we need some positive mojo going in Arizona. You got Kyler Murray in there. Get the other cat out. You're going to get what you